Hello, welcome back. This episode we're going to do a fine art edit, and I'm going to show you a new tool in Lightroom that really helps you with the fine art edit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select an image, and the image is from Dovercourt Lighthouse. I was there a couple of weeks ago. This works so well with this image because we've got a lot of contrast between water and sky, and we need to get that contrast more even. And this select tool will help us so much with doing that. Before we get into that though, what I would love you to do is, over the last 6 to 8 months, we've been working on a project with Thumbs Up, the photography show, which is a new YouTube channel. It's also a Facebook group that I help run with some other guys, some other fantastic YouTubers actually. But we decided we would try and start his own channel up as a collective, and the collective is a shambles of photographers. Get over to that channel, I'll put a link in the description, check it out. I'm sure you will absolutely love it, and if you do, please subscribe. Okay, let's get on to this fine art edit. I've chosen this image. The first thing I'm going to do, it doesn't look as if the horizon is quite straight, so we'll go into the crop tool, pick the leveler, we'll just draw across the horizon. That will level it up. Beautiful job, fantastic. When I was taking this image, I had every intention of removing the marker and the groins on the left hand side, and we can also see a walkway coming towards the lighthouse. I'm going to remove that as well. Let's see if we can do a good enough job in Lightroom. Now, if Lightroom doesn't do a good job, what I will do is go into Photoshop and do it. So I'm going to select areas that I want to remove, like so. So there's 3 areas that I want to sort of get rid of. I think they're quite distracting. We've selected remove tool, and we're going to let AI just do its thing a minute. Now what I can see on the selection is I'm not selected. There's a little bit of a shadow there, so that might actually struggle to remove that post, or it will leave some sort of weird thing there. But we'll see. We'll get around that. It's not a problem. Yeah, it's actually put some other groins in. That's fine. It's because if we just unselect everything, see what it's done. It's done a brilliant job, really. So we'll just go over that again. Just another quick select. Hopefully, just go a little bit further. Make sure we're getting all these shadows casting, and we'll click remove. Now that's done a pretty brilliant job. It's already getting more minimalistic, which is what we're looking for. All we're doing is trying to create it as minimal as possible. So the next thing is I'm going to do a couple of just little general global tweaks as you would normally do. I'm going to bring up the shadows a little bit so we can see more of that lighthouse. I'm going to drop the highlights a little bit, up the whites, and I'm going to drop the blacks a little bit. Just softens the image. That's all I'm going to do. Then I'm going to go to the select tool, and this is the new bit that's come in of Lightroom. The select has a select tool now called landscape, so we're going to click on landscape. What that will do then is scan the image and separate the image into separate areas, and then give you a list of them areas. See what we want to use as a mask. It's fantastic. Just makes things a lot quicker. So we can select sky, architecture and water. I'm going to select the water and create a mask. Then what I'm going to do is it's created that mask, so we'll right click on it, and then we'll intersect with a linear grad. I'm going to pull the linear grad down from the top. I'm going to hold the shift key because it will keep it nice and straight then as well, like so. I'll just go with the shift key, which is great. like so. What I'm trying to do is, again, the contrast with the water and the sky very similar. So the water's really dark, so I'm just going to bring up the exposure a little bit. But I'm only bringing it up where the mask is. So we're starting to make it easier to blend when we blend that horizon, like so. Now, we could bring up the whites a touch. I don't want to overdo it, and I'm going to just drop the saturation just a little bit. Somewhere there. Now that already, if we switch on the mask or switch the mask on and off, the difference is it's massive, but that's going to help us blend that image later on. And that mask has been such an advantage editing these types of images where you've got a lot of contrast between sky and the sea. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select another mask. I'm going to go to the landscape tool again, and I'm going to select the water again. Now the water's it's got that brown look to it, so I'm just going to bring up the temperature of the water and make it a little bit bluer, like so. A little bit more. Then I'm going to drop the saturation a little bit and then bring up the exposure again, like so. Fantastic. So what we've done there is we've actually got the colour contrast a little bit closer as well. Again, we'll switch that off. It looks a bit weird at the start, but we just got that little bit of colour contrast there. I might just bring the exposure up a little bit more, like just a little bit. I'm also going to go down to the DAs tool. We'll drop the DAs just slightly, which will soften it, and drop the clarity, which will soften it even more. Fantastic. We're starting to get an image that's really going to blend together. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send it into Photoshop to do some work on the horizon. To be honest with you, this image we could do it all in Lightroom, but I'm going to go into Photoshop. The reason why I've brought it into Photoshop is because the select tool now in Photoshop is amazing, and it's going to help us edit this image so much quicker. First thing I'm going to do, just duplicate the layer. So just drag it down to the little square box with the cross in, duplicate the layer. There is shortcuts. I don't use shortcuts very often. So now we've got an image. What I'm going to do now is go to the select tool and select subject. That should now select the lighthouse. Does a fantastic job of selecting the lighthouse. Go to edit, copy, make a new layer, and paste. So if I just switch all them off, all we've got there is the lighthouse. Fantastic, selection done, brilliant. So now what I want to do is I'll just switch the lighthouse part off, go to the same layer again, select sky. So we're going to create a layer with the subject and a layer with the sky. That selected the sky, fantastic job. Again, we're going to copy, make a new layer, paste. We could name these layers as well. I don't bother because there's not many layers. It's not too confusing, and it's just how I work. So now I'm going to switch all the layers off besides the sky layer, like so. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the clone tool because I feel as if this works the best. Press Alt where I want to start with the cloning or clone to from. Click the mouse button. So now we'll clone over where the lighthouse was, like so. It's pretty much that easy. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the free transform and I'm going to drag that sky down, make it wider for me to work with, and I'm going to drag it up as well. That's that done. Then we'll reselect all the layers. We've got we'll just go over that. We've got the structured layer, the lighthouse. If I switch that off, we've got the sky layer, and then we've got the original layer underneath that. So all we got to do now is to blend this in is select the sky layer again, create a layer mask, go to the graduating tool, hold the shift button to keep it nice and level, bring it up from bottom to top. That's how easy it is now to remove the horizon. Let's say it's another way of doing it. There's umpteen different ways of actually doing it, and if this doesn't work, you have to try a different way. And if you have to try a different way, check out some of my old videos that I've done which allow you to remove the horizon, things like that. This is just another technique to use to remove the horizon. So all I'm going to do now is finish this edit off, and I will do that in Lightroom. So all I have to do, go to File, Save. That will send it back into Lightroom for me just to do the final edit. It's that easy. And what makes it easy is a select tool in Photoshop. Make sure you've got it selected to AI because it does an amazing job. But that's really, the process is only took 5 minutes max. The other thing I would say is when you've taken these images, be aware of where the horizon is. I say this every time, but be aware of where the horizon is to do with the subject, because that will make the blend so much easier for you to do. We've got the image back into Lightroom. All we're going to do is put our own little bit of style on it and to edit this image. It's looking pretty damn good as it is, and I could easily just leave it. I'd be quite happy just to leave it. I'm not, but you know, it's there. I want to bring the detail out more in the lighthouse there. Now I could just up the shadows, but it's affecting everything, and I don't want to bring the shadows out. I want to keep some of that shadow area in the water and the sky. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go up to the select tool. Now what I found out is if we select object, sometimes it doesn't do quite a good enough job. If we select subject, sorry, it doesn't do quite good enough job. So if it doesn't, try object, and it seems to do a better job on the lighthouse if we select object. So I'm just going to draw over that. Just try different ways. Sometimes one will work better than the other. Look how well it's selected that. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the shadows up a little bit. Just a little bit. That's fantastic. Just to bring that little bit more detail out. I'm also going to just bring up the texture, which will just bring up that sharpness a little bit. I think that's all I'm going to do with that. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually select sky. Now it'll try and generate a sky because we've blended that sky in. So where that sky finishes, I will never know. It's done a fantastic job. It's selected the subject as well. So we need to remove the subject from the sky. So if we double click or click on the mask, sorry, subtract objects, and we'll draw over the object again. That will remove the object from the sky select, like so. So now the sky select has been removed from there. We don't want to use all of that sky because it comes a good way down. So what I'm going to do now is right click, intersect with, linear grad, and just drag it down about there. Fantastic. Now what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to see what the DAs does if I lift it, because it'll bring a little bit of texture out in that sky like so, because we can see these wispy clouds. So a little bit of detail will help. I'm also going to drop down the exposure a touch. Now because we've got a little bit of blue in the sky, what I can do is go to the colour sliders, go to luminance, and then just drop the blue down. Oh, I've clicked the one on that, I do apologise. Luminance, and just drop the luminance of the blue, which will help bring the detail out of the white fluffy clouds. Love that. But what it's done is also it adds saturation, especially when we've done the DAs. Up the DAs, it will add saturation. So I'm just going to drop the saturation of that blue down a little bit. That looks fantastic. That looks fantastic. Now I'm editing this as a coloured image. We can change the edit for black and white as well. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select another mask, linear grad, bring it up from the bottom, hold the shift key so it's nice and square, just drop the exposure a little bit like so. I'm just going to come out of the image. Now the light's coming in from the right hand side because we'll see where the shadow is on the lighthouse. So what I'm going to do is try and emphasize that a little bit. So if I select a radial grad, I'll just come off the image, nice big grad like so. The light's coming from probably, well, it is just above because we've got that shadow there. So I'm trying to anticipate where the sun's coming from. And then I'm going to just up the exposure a little bit, and the whites a little bit. Now, if you up the blacks, that does a fantastic softening glow effect. Brilliant. And if we also drop the clarity down and the DAs a little bit, it just gives a little bit of dimension to the image, adding that in. And if we just switch it off, we'll see what we've actually done. So we've just brightened up that right hand side. Now what I'm going to do is actually do the opposite. So with another radial grad, I'm going to come over to about the same place, somewhere there, probably drag it off a little bit, invert the mask, and then I'm just going to drop the exposure down. So we create, it's a little bit darker on the left hand side than what is on the right. That is the image for the colour pretty much done, I think. It's looking fantastic. The only thing I'll do is I'll use I'll edit in topaz denoise, because it adds a little bit of noise when we're processing heavy sometimes. So what I like to do is just denoise it a little bit, I think, and then it sharpens it as well. So it does a really good job. So we'll just do that. So I've denoised the image and it just looks more painterly as well, because it's got rid of that any noise. And all I'm going to do now is that's my coloured image pretty well done. I think I'm just going to bring up the whites a little bit and something about there which I quite like. And I would save that image now, and then what I'll do is just do a little bit of a black and white process, because I know a lot of people prefer a black and white fine art image. I actually prefer the coloured image, but it's do whatever you prefer. So with the black and white, you can see it's not got enough punch, enough contrast there. So I'm going to up the whites a little bit more to start really bringing some contrast into the image like so. I'm also going to go back down to the sliders, and if I drop the blues, I know that sky's blue. If I drop the blues down, be quite aggressive there, something like that. That's added more contrast to the image. I've actually noticed, I think there's a couple of, is that on the screen? Yeah, I thought there was a couple of dust spots. It's actually on the screen. So we'll just have a little look at that. Yeah, that's looking good. What I'm going to do is I'll just add a couple of little linear grads just to bring that almost like a vignette of the image, top and bottom there, put them on a light angle like so. Brilliant. I'm going to do a radial grad just to the right here, and I'm going to darken that down as well, just drop the exposure a little bit like so. And that will probably be my edit of the black and white edit. I might just add a radial grad here like so. So I've got a radial grad. Then what I'm going to do is subtract object, draw over the object very quickly. And I just want to give the lighthouse a bit more punch. So what I'm going to do is actually lighten behind it up so it stands out a little bit more, and that's why I've selected the grad behind it. And then we'll just bring up something like that. If we just have a look what we've done before and after with that, and it's just really made the lighthouse stand out. And I would save that as my black and white. I think, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll do one more thing, one more grad. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to select object, and then I'm going to invert that object. So at the moment it's selected the tower, the lighthouse. So if I right click, select the mask, go to invert. Now it's selected everything but the tower. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop the blacks down a little bit, make it a little bit more grungy, like so. I think that's brilliant. I could even bring up the whites a little bit like that. Shadows we could drop, just to really get more contrast in that black and white image. Fantastic. And we'll save that. Really pleased with how that's come out. We'll just jump back to the coloured image. I always do this because it gives contrast to the colour image as well. Obviously, as you can see now, with all them adjustments, it's also give a lot of saturation. But if we drop that saturation down, sometimes that colour image looks even better. Looks fantastic, looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to save that as well. So I've actually got 3 images out of the one. I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out Thumbs Up the Photography Show. Again, like I say, it's something totally different to pretty much what you're going to see on YouTube to do with photography. We've tried to do things a little bit different. I hope you've enjoyed this as well. Please subscribe to this channel because there's more of this. If you do like this, I do more of this on my members area. It's $1.99 a month, so it's not a lot. It's buy me a coffee once a month. Actually, tea. Buy me tea, $1.99. It's cheaper. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.